Thumbnail poses.
Hey guys, what's up? Another episode of Coffee is for Closers. Me and Pat today. We're going to be talking about personal branding, I guess, how to use it, how it affects the person who is the face of the brand, how you keep your agency as a human being and still, not get canceled, and why it is sometimes advantageous to do a personal brand over a more corporate brand.
That's it.
Yeah, so watch it. Or else. Dum, dum, dum.
If you listen to this podcast, you will make your first million within 3 years. We're here to make podcasts. You really want this. You listen and review.
Hey, so I was in the comments the other day and you're not meant to do that. You're not meant to do that, but I am because that's my job is to read all the comments and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of funny things that sort of triggered me that this would be something we should talk about. And I think both of us at about the same time, and I think we sort of spoke about this one time at my place and we sort of put it out as like a YouTube video, link to that. We spoke about how we had made the conscious decision of, our own social media profiles were going to be the front of our businesses.
Yeah.
And that requires like a change in the way that you would act. And sometimes since then, I get kind of not jealous, definitely not jealous. That's not the right word. But I'm shocked by the way that some people interact online, and I think, do you not care for your personal brand, sir? and then I realize, like, no, they don't, right? Because if you got a job somewhere and you're getting paid a salary and they don't care about what you do online, like I see a lot of people just getting up to madness online, and it shocks me.
Yeah, what's even more shocking is the people who do rely on their personal brand, but they still just YOLO it.
Yeah. So,
which I do kind of respect.
like to a point. But I think what sort of triggered this, and I won't even bother saying the post and certainly not the guy's username because I don't want to sort of add any traction to it. And it's irrelevant. Like I don't give a shit about the guy and I'm sure you care even less than me. But on a post, it was on Instagram, someone commented moobs on you as in.
What does that even mean?
Man boobs. I know. So I was like, I thought maybe it might be a friend of yours, because, it would be like a funny sort of thing to say because people do that to me all the time because I do indeed have man boobs, right? So
I have a powerful chest chat.
But so the guy is a personal trainer, right? And is advertising on his Instagram like, hey, come be a person, learn from me. I know everything.
Maybe he's one of those guys that yells at you until you feel bad about yourself. And then from there you get better.
So then his link in his bio is to another Instagram page where he's claiming to be the squat king of something or other. And the link in that bio is to a church project where he's claiming to be super nice guy, Christian dude, right? And so I looked at it and I was just like, oh, dude, this doesn't add up. Like you're claiming to be one thing and you're acting in another way.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting pitfall that I wanted to discuss with you in that you have, you made the conscious decision that within this conglomerate of companies and everything that's going forward, there was a day where you were like, oh, I am now accountable to all of this and my online activity has to reflect that.
I think I could probably find the exact day because I'd be able to go back into our group chats when I said, hey boys, just so you know, personal Facebook's going full business. Feel free to unfriend.
Yeah.
Unfriend, unfollow.
I remember thinking, oh, this is going to be interesting. What's happening here? Yeah.
And I think I actually had another experience and it was very similar, which is kind of which is kind of wild, where it was a guy who ran a men's well-being Facebook group, right? And he commented on one of my ads going, not this cringy fuckbag again, or something like that, right? I was like, oh, this is an interesting comment. Let me click this guy. And then it went through, to a Facebook group, which was men supporting men, right? So what I did is I joined the Facebook group, and then I screenshotted the ad, and I was like, and then it was I went through, and then I posted, and I was like, I'm joining this group because I'm being bullied online. When you got a couple of extra minutes on the toilet, you can really do some damage if you understand how the internet works.
Yeah.
So it was quite fun. I got booted out almost immediately, obviously.
Of course.
because people don't like being held accountable for their actions. But I just thought it was really interesting. But yeah, so I made an active decision because I was like, well, personal brands are just way easier to grow. You know, like it's hard to grow Coca-Cola. Like, you know, they put cocaine in it. That helped. You know,
I'm sure that's how they got it going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
that initial seed funding.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just people attach to humans way easier.
Yeah.
But then it's like now you're a brand and now you're like responsible and accountable. Like your actions and your words are now a reflection of a large group of people. You know, and separating that out's really difficult. You look at like Gary Vee. Most people couldn't name what his marketing company's called. No, it's VaynerMedia. Yeah. Right, but Gary Vee has like 20 times the following. Yeah. But all that is designed to do is funnel people into VaynerMedia. That's really all it is. And they provide branding and marketing services, right? But and so Gary Vee, like his messaging is always very similar, and he, you know, stays within although he talks a lot, he stays within a pretty targeted niche of things that he talks about. And I think that's the hard part. It's like, what do you talk about? What do you not talk about? If you're really passionate about something like politically or some sort of like, do you then risk, you know, all of that so you can say your piece because you do have a platform? So it's like, now you have a platform because you've grown this personal brand, but you really can't do anything of meaning with it outside of growing your business. Yeah. And like, I've ran into people, like for me, that's not really, I'm pretty religiously like agnostic. I mean, it's turned like sort of like a politically, like I don't. Yeah. I'm, you know, whatever.
They're all bad guys.
Yeah, everyone's an idiot. Yeah. Yeah. But like I've had clients in the past that were like deeply religious and very political, and like I would watch the business go down. You know, as they sort of got more and more vocal. And a lot of this was like one of the clients that we had in Canada, and Canada, all that weird shit was going on. He had a platform. He was really passionate about it. And then I had to pull him aside and I was like, hey man, like I respect everything you're doing, but there's other people here now. Yeah. And I was like, you don't have to stop doing it. Your voice is your voice, bro. Totally respect it. And I don't disagree with the things that you're saying. But even if I did or didn't, it wouldn't change this conversation. It's like, you're shitting the bed on this one. So as long as you're okay with it, then I'm okay with it. We just have to put in some other arrangements. Yeah. Like that. And he was like, okay, I'll stop. You know, he stopped for a little while. But then there's also comes in like shadow banning. Yeah. You know, on all these different platforms. And it's like, you just got to make the call. Like, if you're going to be the personal brand, in my opinion, then like you just stick in your lane and just sort of stay out of it. Yeah, I agree. I think that's what's really interesting is that you do, as an individual representing a brand, and the brand is you and your company. And I think there's many levels to that. Like there's me, that my company is just me, right? But then there's you who are the face of like 150 people who, you know, if I shit the bed on my personal branding, if I got up one day and just decided, tell people what you really think. Well, let me get to that. But if I got up and decided I'm going to throw a hand grenade on this, it's me who suffers. And that's fair enough. Well, I've got a family that are also, you know, relying on me. But if you fuck up online, then you can sink a big, big ship. And I think, do you think that there's a point where that becomes like a critical vulnerability in the company? Like, and we have insurance for it. Yeah, right. Expand on that. Well, like we had to have a plan. Like, and the plan it was brought up by me. I was like, what if I shit the bed? Like, what if I go full blown political crazy person on Facebook? And there could be a scenario in which that happens. Yeah. Like everyone's got a hill they're going to die on. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't deal with this. Yeah. I got to go hard in the paint. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so like from there, it was like, all right, well, if that is shown to have a significant negative consequence on the business, I get the boot, you know, and I get the boot negatively, and I get the boot with not that much money coming my way for my shares. Right. You know, like there's a number, I think it's 50% of market value, which I'd still be okay. Good to know. You know, I'd be all right. Yeah. But that's a big hit to take. But I was like, yeah, I'm okay with it, because then that goes out to the other people as well, even people who are like proxy representing the brand. And that's why you got to be real careful with like who you build up and who you don't, because like, you know, we had a thing recently where like at 7th level where like Jeremy was consistently building up this one sales rep, you know, and I was like very against it. I was like, dude, you can't do this. Like, you got to stop doing it. Like, this is going to bite us in the ass. Also, like, I don't believe we have different viewpoints of that person. Okay. You know, like, I ended up having to fire them. And then because, you know, Jeremy had spent like a year building this person up, you'd basically given him a profile.
Yeah.
You know, and Jeremy's platform is huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, fucking enormous.
Yeah.
And so when he decides to build somebody up, like it happens.
They really get built up.
Yeah, it really happens. So like that created a whole different mess. And then it's like, if like, you know, even before I ended up firing him, he would go in and say comments in the Facebook group or on Facebook on other people's stuff. And I'd have to like screenshot it and show him. I'd be like, hey dude, like you've got my logo as like a watermark on your stuff, and you've got my logo as your cover photo. I was like, you've decided to do that. You've anteed in.
Yeah.
And you're reaping the rewards from it.
Yeah.
You need to be careful what you say.
Yeah.
Because now every single thing is representative of the company which you work for.
So I do want to explore that sort of idea of endorsing someone, and let's continue on that. But I want to put a pin in the idea of like polarization when we talk about that political idea. So help me make sure I get my way back to that.
Yeah.
So I think endorsing someone online, especially from within your own business, is like, it's not like a no-no, right? Like there's instances where that's 100% the right play. You've got to have succession planning. You've got to have like, you know, you can't be the face of everything forever. It'd be too exhausting to do that, right? So within succession planning, you've got to, you know, account for the idea that somebody else has to borrow from your credibility.
Yeah.
And you lend that to them in order that they bring them up. But then exactly, right? So then that's a burden in both directions as well.
For sure.
Like that you have to give to them, but in taking from you, they're sort of agreeing to go along with everything, like your attitude, your outward persona.
Yeah. So like I know a lot of companies who do that, but then what they'll do is they'll start new LinkedIn, start new Facebook pages, and they'll start all new social medias, and then those will be like the branded ones. They're owned by the company.
Right.
It's like, so like you're just the insert face.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then that way, like if the person goes away, you can just swap that profile, new name, new face.
Yeah.
You know, so like you can kind of do that, and then I think that mitigates some of the risk.
Some.
You know, and just in terms of like losing the data or whatever, in which that, like, for example, like if you, like I know like a LinkedIn lead generation company, and all their most of their lead gen is through LinkedIn, funnily enough, right? And it's like you can only have 30,000 contacts in LinkedIn, so every single employee they maxed out.
Right.
In different segments. Smart way of doing it, but then that person
holds that.
So like they held the admin accounts.
You
know what I mean? And I guess just hope that people didn't change the passwords. Yeah. You know, because it wouldn't be super difficult to do. But yeah, so like, but there is a burden that goes that it's attached to it. Like, you know, and I remember I was talking to your wife Jane like ages ago, because she's kind of had a personal brand for her tattooing for like a long time, and we were talking about like the people that she follows, and she was like, yeah, I follow people for their work. She was like, as soon as they start putting photos of their kids, it's like, I don't want to fucking see you stupid kids.
Yeah.
You know, so it kind of changes like how you use social media, what you can do. Like if I put up stuff of me and my kids, like it's fucking next. But if I put up a behind the scenes of like you holding a camera, everyone's like, oh, it's fucking exciting.
Yeah. It is very, very difficult to gauge that when, you know, on the topic of being an individual who's the face of a brand, big or small, it is nearly impossible to gauge because, you know, people who leave, they just leave, right?
Yeah.
And so you get the odd people that are like, oh, screw this, I'm out. One of my favorite Instagrams is look at this Russian. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Treat yourselves. But it's kind of dying. Go back through their old posts. So Russia, you know, was one of the first countries to bring in mandatory dash cams.
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, so like you couldn't get insurance unless you had a dash cam in your car. And so Russia was one of the first countries that just had like bulk footage of madness.
Just crazy shit going on.
Crazy. They're just capturing everything, right?
Yeah.
And so there was this Instagram of look at this Russian. It was just Russians doing crazy things, right? It was so fantastic. But they've obviously hit like a monetization point. I think they got millions of followers where now they're doing like booty model shout outs, right? Because they're like, well, you're like,
how else are we going to make money from this?
Exactly. They got to monetize somehow. And there's a lot of people vocally unfollowing that. The first time they did it, I was like, oh, it's a nice booty. I'm fine with that being in my feed.
Yeah.
But then like it's coming, like they're posting that more often. Like I reckon they might have even sold the page or something like that.
Probably.
But there's a lot of people vocally leaving. That's not what I'm here for. I want to see Russians doing crazy shit. I don't want to see bikini models, right?
Yeah. Just Photoshop brands in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like put a Coca-Cola over the head.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
do it that way.
Yeah.
Try and
Be
be
smart
creative.
about it, guys.
Be creative.
Come on.
Yeah.
You build it up. You put
Have
in
the
all
chick
this
with the
work.
booty in the background.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But so, you know, for you, for example, like we don't see a dip when you like. In fact, there's a right amount of personal stuff to put on your profile.
But then it's also like I don't want people fucking seeing my kids, and I want to see them in front of my house. And I don't want to see them
exactly.
Like I can never. Me and my wife can never post anything with my kids in school uniform.
Yeah. Fair enough.
We've had that chat. It's like nope. And like if anyone fucking posts it and they tag us, I fucking scream at them.
Yeah.
Like I'll go, hey motherfucker, you take that down now. You de-tag it and you delete that fucking post. Because, like,
I don't know.
I've had people find me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Luke, who works for us. Love you, Luke. But the fucking way that you came to us was fucking crazy. Right? Watched videos, and I had done, like, a vlog-style thing on YouTube in front of the Whatso. That's it. And then Luke was like, I've driven past that. And he goes, I really want to work for these guys. So he was like, well... You can send me a DM, but like, good luck. Right? Yeah. So he made memes, right? And because he was a FedEx driver, he made memes and he figured out where I was, figured it was the what, so went up and said, is Sales Sniper here? And they said, yes, they're there. He said, which suite number? Then went back and like mailed me memes.
Snap
right?
it.
And then from there, I was like, well, I have to fucking get this dude in. Yeah. Came in with a suit. It's fucking adorable.
Did he realize what he was
Didn't realize. Into? I was like, you better not be wearing a suit when you come in here.
You're in your basketball shorts.
And like, like great, I did the fucking work but like that just showed me like if somebody wants to, they find me.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, that's something that you really got to consider and is really an unpleasant, especially if you're like known for making money. That just seems like a recipe for fucking disaster.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully I'm also known for being one of the most dangerous people in the coaching and consulting industry. You know what I mean?
Gotta rely on that,
like,
right?
Good fucking luck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But like it is a thing that needs to be considered. And I think personal branding I think it's great. I think the hard things are like, I guess like I even have people in my DMs. I can't even send family photos to my family in Facebook. You know what I mean? Like, so like I have to, like, there's only one or two mediums that I can use to actually communicate with my family because like on all the other ones, people are reading it.
Yeah.
And then.
So that's like, this is, what we're sort of unpacking is the pros and cons.
Yeah.
Is that you get better engagement online, more relatability, more trust in the brand by it being a person, not a logo.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But that comes at the cost of means of communication being flooded. You don't owe people a reply for all these kinds of things. Like if you were to personally reply to everything that came in, it would be impossible.
Yeah.
But that's because you invite that. You have people whose job it is to deal with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that cuts off channels of communication to friends, family.
And like literally like the only way that I can communicate with most of the people who I know from the States is Facebook. Mm-hmm. Like, so now if they message me, they're lost in a sea of messages. I have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I get 300 DMs a day.
Yeah.
Which are all answered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it is me, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes it's me for a bit of it and somebody else and then vice versa. Mm-hmm. Because I know what they're going to say.
Been trained to do the right
trained
things.
to do it. So like I can pick up that conversation whenever I want. But yeah, so it is tricky, I think, to manage. And I think like people probably think about it before they do it. Mm-hmm. But it is a shortcut.
Yeah.
But all shortcuts have their penance you have to pay, I suppose.
And I'm curious about how you went about doing that because like what I did in my space was, before I had a group, before I had anything to offer, all I had was knowledge. And so what I did was join other forums and not ones, because this is pre like Facebook groups being used the way they are, but they were real forums like run, like on an interest topic rather than by a person to act as a lead generator. I know, right? Who would believe it? And I would just answer questions and just provide value in there. And that's how I built a profile for myself to the point where, not that I don't answer those questions now, like we've asked, but I don't go looking for questions to answer.
Yeah.
Is that similar to what you did?
No, I did. I didn't. There was only one or two places where I would do that, but I would do that as a student.
Okay.
Right. So like I was in the group or the program, and so like people would ask questions, and I would answer like, "Hey, this is my 2 cents." You know what I mean? Take it for what you will.
Yeah. But
the way I did it was generally speaking through like just straight organic posting. Mm-hmm. And so like when I was doing that, like there really wasn't many other people that were doing it.
Yeah.
I was a very early adapter, to like just giving out content.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because like the mentality of a lot of people is like, don't give too much away.
Yeah.
It's really hard to. Like, first of all, I'd hope I'm always learning. So the stuff that I said a year ago, hopefully I've superseded it with something better, you know, so, but I didn't really have anything to sell anyone. And so, and like, I still sort of don't, to be honest. Like, yeah, we do done for you marketing and done for you sales. And we have some coaching programs available. Like we have an objection handling course that you can buy, but that's basically it. And it's like, those are pretty niche products for a niche amount of people. But the content that I was doing was just to help anybody who tries to make money through using sales, which is like almost everybody.
Yeah.
You know? So I was just like, well, like my only goal was just to be known as a guy who was good at sales. That was the goal. So I was like, I can do that through like, hey, this is what I'm getting. And there was a real, like, I guess the polarization came from I didn't accept the standard of the industry. And I think, to be honest, without tooting my own horn, I think I probably raised the standard of the industry a bit, of the coaching and consulting industry when it comes to sales.
Okay.
Because like there was a big, like, offers made is no longer a thing.
Okay.
Like,
what is that? Explain that to me.
So it's when people would say, hey, I took 100 calls, right? I had an 80% close rate and I closed 20 of them.
Okay.
Right? So they would go, no, I just didn't offer those people.
Right.
So then they would only take the proportionality of who you offered. And that is not something that is said out loud anymore. Because of me.
You went hard against that. Called it out.
Yeah, and that is what got me my profile.
Right, okay.
Like that one thing, like that got me Tony, that got me Rode, that got me a bunch of good sales reps because everyone knew it was bullshit and nobody wanted to say anything about it. And I like ranted about it.
Okay.
Like quite like religiously ranted about it. And I'm only sort of thinking it out loud, but that is like, because I've had a few conversations about, hey, where'd you come to me? Or how did you want to come here? And a lot of it was like, oh, I used to see you talk about these things and nobody else would talk about that. And it made a lot of sense.
Okay, perfect. So that can swing me around then to this idea of polarization. So that's an example of using polarization effectively, ethically, and to your advantage, right? Yeah. Where you've found a hill you're willing to die on. Probably like in the scheme of things, not like nobody's getting that upset about that. People who were making claims against offers made probably were like, oh, got me.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Like no one was going to die on the hill of like, no, that's a real thing and my close rate is
You'd
this.
be surprised.
But I mean, they probably like close the laptop and go like, oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Right? Like when they reflect in themselves, like it's not
100%,
a deep-seated political view that anybody has.
Exactly.
So that's an example of drawing a line and saying, nope, this is how I feel and I'm holding my ground on it.
Yeah.
And, you feel as though that, and rightly feel as though that helped bring the industry forward, and there was like not only helped the industry but helped you went along with it, right? Rising tide lifts all the boats.
Yeah.
What I think people confuse and what I see for sure is when polarization doesn't apply to the helping you and all it does is cut your market in half.
Yeah.
So,
well, if you're going to go left or right, you're going to cut it in half immediately.
Yeah.
Regardless of if you're left or right.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. So, like, I'm hesitant to say his name out loud because we'll end up on the internet saying it, like it'll be cut into a clip. But like Andrew Tate is, mate, he's all over the internet, and for reasons we can explain if people care. But he's incredibly polarizing.
Yeah,
but
he doesn't even believe the shit he's saying.
No, that's right. But he's doing that on purpose because he's selling a polarized product. Yeah. So what he's immediately doing is getting rid of from his market the people who will never buy his shit anyway.
Which there's something to be said about that, right? Like,
well, I think we should point out. I'm gonna stare down the barrel of the camera while I say it. From a marketing standpoint, the shit that he's done is incredibly genius.
So you approve? I would like you to say you approve.
I'm not on board. Like, it's nonsense, most of it.
Yeah.
But from a, I mean, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and again, right?
Yeah.
But from a like money-making marketing perspective, if you're prepared to play the villain, fucking hell, he's a genius in that regard.
Well, the thing is, like, you can, and I was actually talking to Bradley about this, who's kind of, kind of somewhat does a similar thing, just like it's just who he is. He's just a fucking just says stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, but he, one of his mentality is like, you're better off getting rid of getting the unfollows, because then at least then you're left with people who actually give a shit about things that you say.
Yeah.
And then you can track real engagement with real people. Whereas if you just kind of like, and just kind of like you're not polarizing at all, then yeah, you can grow a following, but monetizing that is very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, like if you have a look at like Jeremy's following, Jeremy like is very antithetical to most of the sales industry. So a lot of the things that he says, people are like, oh, fuck, that makes a lot of sense, right? But it's different to what everybody else is teaching, which is why it's so good, like that. And so like his following is hyper monetized.
Yeah.
Like hyper. Like I dare say, if you were to track all of his unique followers and then track that to like income per follower, he would be up there top 10 in the world. You know, like because the amount of income derived from a relatively small base, like 100,000 Instagram, sounds like a lot, fucking nothing in the grand scheme. 12,000 on YouTube, and then that's about it in the Facebook group. Jesus, man, like the kid makes money, you know, and it's a hyper monetized, very, very select group of people, because like anyone who is like old school sales who's never going to convert unfollows him as a fucking dickhead. Yeah. You know, and if you're not in sales, why would you ever follow him? Yeah. Because the dude talks about nothing other than sales. Yeah. You know, so like what's been done there is a phenomenal selection out. You know, it's just so the only people he's speaking to are people who are drinking that Kool-Aid. Yeah. But so if Jeremy had some polarizing political viewpoint, yeah, it's irrelevant. Like it can only hurt. It can only hurt for him to express that. If it turned out like, you know, Jeremy's like Coke Zero is the worst thing in the world, and you should only have real Coke, and Coke Zero's for pussies. And do you want to hear his strangest opinion? I don't, because we're no. It's like it isn't. I know his strangest opinion that wouldn't affect him. Okay, right? Ice and water makes you fat. Do you want to hear the reasoning behind it? I put ice in my water sometimes. That's all this time I've never known. 39 years I've been overweight. Because when he was in Europe one time, he noticed that nobody had ice in their water and that no one was fat. Yeah. Okay. Ipso facto, ice makes you fat. Yeah. We should probably do a podcast on correlation. Yeah. Not causation. Yeah. But he's lean. He is. He is. He's a lean dude. He is. You know? And here I am. Yeah. Flubby. Boobs. Man boobs. Good set of boobs at this podcast. Yeah. But so any bizarre opinion Jeremy has, there's no benefit expressing it. None. Whereas if you're selling a product that, you know, like isn't available to people who think that Coke Zero is crap, right? Yeah. Like if you're only selling a product to people who like the real deal Coke, then you may as well shit all over Coke Zero, because it just cuts those people out, and their hatred of you will only bring awareness to the people who do like real Coke, right? So the guy who used to run gyms with Travis Jones, right? He used to be a fitness business coach and all kinds of stuff like that before it all kind of like crumbled a little bit. How he got his profile and how it all started for him is he wrote an article saying soy makes women have fat asses and men cry like little bitches or something like that, right? Like it was a really headline article like that, and he ended up on like 5 different radio stations defending this article about soy being, you know, a soy boy type thing, right? Yeah. And then from there he started a Facebook group. This is so far before Facebook groups you don't even know. This is back when Facebook groups were capped at 5,000 people. Yeah, right. Yeah. That, and he had 2 of them fully packed out at people paying $50 a month, fully packed. To hear him talk about stuff like that. It all came from that, right? So I think the element of polarization isn't like, there's no point having a brand that everybody likes. Yeah. There's just no point. And so like with Sales Sniper, it's like I've always been very, very clear and very pointed. I'm like a naturally polarizing person anyway. Like people tend to like me or hate me. Like in the Army, there was 2 camps. There's no one who was like, oh yeah, Boon's okay. You could swap camps though. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you could swap. Yeah, you can go from one to the other. Yeah. The door, around. It was a revolving door. Like that. But there was no people who were like, oh, yeah, Matt's all right. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, yeah, that dude's good to go. Or it's like, nah, he's a fuckwit. Yeah. And then they'd argue. Yeah. Like that. But, you know, I don't know why. It's just kind of, I think it was because I just never really accepted, like, well, this is the way it is. And I was like, it doesn't have to be. Like, you know, But so I think like being somewhat polarizing, I think is a really important thing. But I think if you fake it, it sort of screws you up.
Yeah.
I think it has to be like you have to be passionate about things you're passionate about, and then like there's just things I don't care about. So like trying to pretend that I care about them, I think would come off as disingenuous. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things that I discovered, especially from a personal branding standpoint, was like you just got to do things the way you want to do it, even if it's not the optimal way. Mm-hmm. You know, like we talk about our content and stuff, and you know, half time I'm like, yeah, but it's like it's good. Like if I'm happy with the content, but it doesn't perform that well, like who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
You know, like obviously you want to try and make things perform well, but at the end of the day, like it's, if you're happy with it, like if I made an awesome movie and not many people watched it, I'd still be happy that I made an awesome movie. Mm. You know, obviously if it was like, that's the business, that's a real problem. You know, yeah. I can't be that guy all the time, but I think like the more authentic and the more you are, and the more like the messages that you talk about are really important to you, and the way in which you say them is sort of somewhat natural, and you're not kind of being a crazy person, but it comes off as like, oh, like I know that guy. Mm. Like if you watch me on film or you listen to this podcast, like you know me pretty well.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a different human outside.
Yeah.
I'm the same human being here. And I think that's really important. Like there can't be the veneer of like perfection.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm a fallible human who makes mistakes and fuck up all the time and just try and do my best, you know? And I think that that's important as well when it comes to building a brand, because then you can maintain it.
Yeah, 100%.
Otherwise, man, it's difficult to be perfect.
Yeah. Well, I think that sort of...
I manage.
I think that authenticity becomes a real cliche. And
I hate the word.
Yeah, but it's a hard thing to get away from how true that is, and that to be successful, that's all, like it really needs to be there, and you will come unstuck eventually if you're pretending to be someone that you're not. And, you know, in military terms, we see this. This is the whole point of demarcation. That's the whole point of it, is that you get people so exhausted that the mask comes off and you really see who they are.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, demarcation is, depending on when you did it, is either 96 or 72 hours of no food, no sleep.
Yeah.
It was 96 when I did it. So no food, no sleep for 4 days. And it's just designed to break you mentally. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the sort of like people, you know, the idea of special forces guys being crazy fit. Like, yes, of course, everyone's very fit, right?
Compared to the average human.
Yeah. But one of the reasons why people get so insanely fit is to make selection easier. Yeah. And the reason is because they're trying to push to break you. And what always ends up happening is the guys that get through and turn out like not to work out, especially in real combat stress, are always the weapon fit guys. They're the fittest of the fit. Because what happened was you couldn't replicate battle stress to them. You couldn't break them because everything's kind of group activities and whatever. So if you're miles above the average, we never get to see who you are. Whereas for me, at the kit check, I was like, this is who I am. Like,
yeah,
it's I'm exhausted. There's no holding a veneer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But to that end, I think that sort of like is as painful as it is to say that authenticity, because it will come out.
Yeah,
if you're not who you are pretending to be, it will come out, and we see that across so many industries. Across
you look
so
at like
many
Ellen
platforms.
DeGeneres, right?
Exactly,
supposed to be the nicest person in the world, and you hear these stories come out of some horrible shit.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, right. That's what's going on there.
Yeah,
you know. Whereas if they're an asshole to everybody, you go like, oh yeah, that checks out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And that's who you are. Like it's you're the asshole. Fair enough. And some people like that. And depending on what you say, that's some people are into that.
Yeah,
madness.
Yeah, I think trying to it's just a lot of weird lines that you gotta walk. And I think like the scary thing is if you extrapolate it out, like it's a, you know, I always say there's a perfect level of famous. You know, and the perfect level of famous is supporting actor on a sitcom.
Mm-hmm. Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Like supporting actor on a sitcom. Does he say that, did he?
No, but that's what he was. He was.
And it's like you have money, which is great, like that, but you don't get bothered like that. So I think it's like, you know, like Cardone would have taken it too far in terms of like personal brand for me. Like he couldn't go, you know.
Can't walk down the street.
Yeah, type stuff. You know, Tony Robbins, all that kind of shit. You know, apparently The Rock, it's really affecting him now because, like, when he had his first kids, he could go to all their stuff. Now, he went to his daughter's, like, high school basketball game, and the game had to get shut down because, like, 200,000 people showed up just to see him. You know, like, that's a real hindrance in life. And so I think, like, if your personal brand goes well, like, the better it goes, the more you give up. And like, I guess hopefully that's in exchange for money. But it's like, at what point does the money not become worth it?
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you back that off?
Yeah.
Because once your content's out there, look at like David Dobrik, right?
Yeah.
You know who he is?
Yeah.
Right? So he disappeared from YouTube because of all the stupid shit that he did.
Yeah.
Right? Still making $10, $12 million a year.
Ticking over in the background.
Right? You know, but his content's forever out there, which means that like his profile is no smaller than what it was when he was doing full-time videos.
Yeah.
Like, you can't hide. Casey Neistat tried to hide, couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're still Casey Neistat. Like, everyone still knows your face.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, it's very hard to roll back a large presence on the internet, social media, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Like, that's a difficult thing to undo.
So, you know, more in our terms, because, you know, to be clear, like, neither of us have any, we're talking about personal branding online being the front of stuff, but neither of us are, like, famous people.
No.
Just are the face of a business.
Yeah. But I just think, like, I can see it. Like, for example, Jeremy is now getting stopped.
Yeah.
In the street. And he loves it at the moment. And, like, you would, your first little bit. I've been recognized twice. Right? And, like, totally random at that, because my presence is tiny. But it was like, they just happened to be near me. The 3 people who watched me, 2 of them happened to be close. One of them was Mom. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Right? But Jeremy gets stopped, like, in the airports. Oh, are you Jeremy Miner? It's like, yeah. He's like, can I get a photo and stuff like that? I'm watching your reels and all kinds of shit like that. So, like, you know, but that in 5 years, if that keeps going like that, that's a real fucking problem.
Yeah, that's hat and sunglasses everywhere you go kind of thing. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, is there anybody that you have had like apply, you know, to work with you, for you, whatever, and you've looked at their online profile and been like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. People, like, there's just no point associating with people who are, like, I guess intentionally provocative, but like just for attention's sake.
Yeah.
And there are people who, like, there are some people who have like just scumbag reputations too. You know, like, there are some big names that have applied to work with us that I have just gone, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Taken the meeting and said, thanks, but no thanks. Appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
You know, just because, like, one, to just get a weird vibe. Like, I had a chat with like one of the guys from Shark Tank in the US like that. And I was like, this feels weird. I don't like the feel of this. I'd rather not do it. And then I've had a chat with some really, really big coaches in like the sort of Amazon space. And just like the way they spoke, I was like, oh, man. Then I had a look at online and it was all very much like quick bucky type stuff. And I was like, I can see where this is going to go.
Yeah.
Like, FTC is not too far behind.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Like, you know, you got to, like, because like when we take on a project, like, it's not going to be quiet that we take it on. You know, most people, if we're doing the sales for them, like, people say it.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, we have to be careful with who we associate with. That's why, like, you know, we took on a client a while ago, and like, it turned out I was kind of like, fuck, I think it's a scam. You know, I figured it out super early on. Ended up like not even being paid the comms. I paid the comms from the reps myself. I was like, because I don't want to be associated with taking anything in case something untoward happened to those people. Like, I'm out type thing. And, you know, that was a big name.
Yeah.
That person has like, you know, 8 million Instagram followers.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. Right. And, like, easy to get leads, all that kind of stuff. It could have been a tremendously successful account for us, but for us.
Yeah.
For who else? And then it's like, if that gets shut down by the FTC, and then all of a sudden, oh, did you hear fucking Sales Sniper was selling that? Like, I wonder if they knew it was a scam. And then all of a sudden, you're like, you know, then you got to, people ask you about it, you got to explain it. And, you know, I think one thing that we said years ago is like, you never want to be in a position where you're like worried to answer a phone call.
Yeah.
You know? And so you have to sort of conduct yourself, I guess, with a level of integrity at all times. So that, and like, because like, you don't want to be like, scared when someone's.
Yeah, on many levels. You don't want that sort of personally for your own trouble, but also within the business thinking, we got to cover up for the cover up. And I see so many people live their lives like that. And I was like, it's fucking exhausting.
How stressful. Like, people have 2 families. How could that be worth it? I'm flat out disappointing one woman in the bedroom.
That's
you
true.
Know what I mean?
That's true. It's too hard.
I can only take that on a happy face. So
I know a guy that's just recently turned out to be a huge fraud.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like, I kind of saw it coming. It was in my space. I kind of saw it coming, and I sort of distanced myself a little while ago. I was like, a few things don't add up. I'm just going to be over here, and you guys be over there.
Yeah.
And just a couple of weeks ago, it all uncovered, totally full of shit. All like, And I mean, and spectacularly.
What do you mean full of shit? Like the awards were not the awards?
No, not even that. Just represented himself as being someone that he wasn't. Right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I won't go into details because it's ongoing. It's ongoing. It's ongoing.
Stay tuned for dog drama.
Yeah. Oh, dude. There could be. I mean, there is a podcast. It's called The Canine Paradigm of Dog Drama. Wait, the dog industry is full of drama, but I think all animal industries are. Yeah, totally. But I think all animal industries are. But I mean, one of the things that triggered me to think about this was just the other day. It'll be miles ahead of when this podcast comes out, but a couple of videos of two women that owned a dog training facility, it's a mother-daughter, like really badly abusing two dogs as board and trains, right? And so the repercussions of that are they're sunk, right? Like it's all over for them, and good, right? But the whole board and train industry is now, you're feeling the hurt of that because the repercussions are beyond just them, because you see two dogs getting smashed around by two people who present really well, and one of them in particular was pretty well respected in her specific niche, cane corso breeding, right? But so like then it's like, oh wow, that's what happens when I leave my dog with someone, and that the ripples of that are going to be all around the English speaking world, that everybody that's seen that video is now going to be like, oh, I'm not. And I'm not leaving my dog with someone. That could happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's shitty.
So like there's drama everywhere. And I think that's one of the really interesting things about sort of this niche is that the effects of others tends not to impact.
Well, it's because like, I think everyone's running the he without sin should not cast stones. And I don't think there's many people in this industry that are without sin. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, that we could definitely talk about the dramas, but a lot of the dramas are like, it's all hearsay and fucking conjecture, because it's like what are you gonna what physical evidence will there be? Like I know I've like spoken to people who have refund rates of upwards of 60%. It's like, bro, that means you are fucking flat out garbage at what you do. Yeah. Like, and I know like a lot of the figures that are posted are fake. Yeah. But like, how do you prove that? Yeah. Sometimes the math doesn't work out and it's pretty easy to see, but then like, am I going to be the guy that's calling people out online? No, because I don't fucking care. Yeah. I'm just like, well, I know that's not true. And like, for me, that's enough. Yeah. I'm not going to take your advice. That's one of the things as well from a branding standpoint, when I look at some of our ads and look at the comments on the ads from people who are like, oh, that's bullshit, that could never work. And you click through and they're people who are trying to do the same thing, only just nowhere near as good. And it's like, the fact that you don't understand how it could work doesn't mean it can never work. Part of the problem. Yeah. That doesn't line up. There's a guy commenting one of the things about like, there's no way a Facebook group can make that much money. I've got a group and it doesn't make anywhere near that money. And it's like, maybe download the link. maybe have a call then. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's time to learn. Yeah. And it's only 100K. We limited it to 100K because we thought if we did 500, people would lose their mind. Yeah. And it's like the barrier of entry is too high. Yeah, you can definitely do 500K from a Facebook group a month. For sure. You can do more than that. Depends on ticket price. The real it's volume of sale. It's not like, that's the barrier of entry in terms, the barrier in terms of how much you can make is just how much. Like I've heard of people doing $1 million from a Facebook group. It's not possible with what I sell. Right. Like, you know what I mean? So like, it's not possible physically unless I collected like 100% of cash up front. Mm-hmm. Right. So like it could be done, but it'd be very difficult. Whereas if like, I know the guys who are doing that, one, I'm not sure if it's revenue or cash. Like I would like to hear that and see that, whether they're talking about like, accruals or, my gut saying it's probably accruals, I would say, but even that's good. $1 million worth of in contract value per month. It's fantastic. I would like to see the cash collection on that, but it's like much more expensive. It's like $30,000, $35,000 masterminds. Yeah. Right. So like you get 3 paid in full, it's 100K. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So all you got to do is get fucking 30 paid in fulls. Yeah. At 7th level, we sign 200 plus people every single month with an average of 60% cash collection, but we have like, we have 3,000, 8,000, 15,000. Yeah. So our average front end cash collection is 3,600. So like we'd have to sell an awful lot. And we have multiple marketing channels. So from the Facebook group itself, we probably sell, 400 or 500 of the 1.5 that we make every month. That's cash, not accruals. But it just totally depends on what you're selling. It's why, like, that's the thing about business, and we're getting a different conversation, but all the things are so nuanced. Like, what if you just sold a 100K product?
Yeah.
You only did pays in fulls.
Yeah.
Like that. And you were known for that. You were good at that. You had a good group and you did big consulting packages and you sold 5 of them a month.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, how to average 100K, you know what I mean, per client, or 50K collected per client per month. Like, it's just how you set things up, you know? Like, and every business has got pros and cons.
Sell super yacht timeshares.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like the guy I had in just before, I actually helped him develop his business model 2 years ago.
Right.
And he bought like 2 or 3 sessions off me, and he was kind of wondering, and I was like, hey, man, like if I'm you, this is what I do. And he was like, okay, thanks. And then he came back to me 2 years later. He's like, all right, so I did what you said. I'm making $130,000 a month. What do I do now?
Nice.
Literally. And I was like, oh, take me through what you're doing.
Remind me what I said again.
Yeah, what did I say? I was like, yeah. So he's like, yeah, I did everything you said. I was like, okay, cool. This is what you need to do now. Structure this, do this, do this. So anyway, so we kind of went through that about what he's doing next. But, you know, he has a real low end product, which is like just builds up tons of recurring, you know, really clever model. I happen to have like written it out for him.
If you do say so yourself.
I do say so myself. Yeah. But you know, now he's got, you know, 500 people giving him $299 a month.
Yeah.
Right. So that's fucking great. Plus he has some other upsells and shit like that. But he's selling that from a Facebook group. Yeah. You know, and a few other methodologies. But then like that dude's doing a pretty high volume. But obviously like he's not going to collect more than $200 or $300 per sale. So like the amount of front end cash that he can collect from that is just a bit more limited. Mm-hmm. Can still do plenty, but it's just more limited. Yeah. Is his strategy any less effective? No, it's just a different business model.
Yeah. That level of nuance is interesting in the, especially, not that we're old, but in people younger than us, that they're kind of not interested in that.
Not at all.
Like you look at TikTok, you can't even say on TikTok. You say people are like, no, it's fine. Right? Like, so if you're like showing any like, let me consider that, they're like, no, you consider nothing. Yeah. Right? I want it to be a fact. Fuck you. Right?
Yeah.
Rather than like, yeah, well.
The moon is square.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. Say it like that. That's fine. But if you go like.
The moon is, you know, roundish.
If you go, well, if that, then this, people are like, no. It's a way. It's definitely a way, and there's no room to think about anything.
Yeah, that's the whole internet marketing world, though, because it's all about the headline and the click and all that kind of stuff, and it's just not the way it is, and it's actually frustrating because like my brand is almost built on nuance.
Yeah,
right. So like the way in which I talk, it doesn't lend itself to like going viral.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas if you look at Jeremy. He talks in absolutisms, right? I see too much into the matrix to talk that way. I can't do it. Like it would be antithetical to what I believe. Yeah. Because someone could go, well, should I do this in this situation? And my answer is almost like, well, it depends what happened before it. Yeah. So like when I coach people, like I did an inner circle coaching session the other day and people were like, holy fuck. Like that was a good session because I was like, it was so nuanced. Like, and specific to the people who were there. Yeah. But it was like all of it, like the guy goes, can you review this part of my call? And we listened to it. I go, I have no feedback for this. Mm-hmm. He was like, why not? And I was like, because like I haven't listened to the previous 20 minutes. Like,
need the context.
And like, I have no idea. Like I could give you feedback on how you said things. Yeah. You know, but what I was teaching what he needed to work on is he over-interrupted. We didn't over-interrupt. The way in which he interrupted was the problem. You know, like he didn't do a vocal lead-in. Like if you're just going to interrupt someone, you just start talking. It's very jarring. And so, but if you interrupt something, you go, okay, like that makes sense. Do you mind if I ask you? Then it's almost like you're giving the person room to back off. You know, so you can get away with it a lot more. And then from there, he was like, he never changed his pace when he was asking questions or like trying to get information versus like trying to elicit an emotion. And you can't do it that way. Like you have to pace, you know? So like if there's a series of, like, for example, if I want to ask you how much money you make, right? Just going, okay, so how much money do you make is a really bad way of doing that. Yep. So I'd have to stack that in a way that would make sense to you. Like whenever I ask for a sale, I always, because I have to ask for their credit card. Now they've already said yes and that kind of stuff, but it's still going, okay, so what's your credit card? That can be a jarring, like little emotional stunt for somebody. So I'll go like, okay, man, so this is your full name? Yeah. Is there a middle name? Okay, cool. This is your phone number that I have on file, and this is the email that I have. Is that all correct? Yes. And what's the credit card number? Mm-hmm. Right? It's just to ease them into it. Mm-hmm. You know, so I had to teach a lot of that stuff. You know, and it's very nuanced and like, you know, pacing out people. So if I want to ask you that question, how much do you make? I'd be like, okay, cool. So, you know, like let's just say we are able to help you get the skills in order to kind of bring your online business to 20K a month. Like, is that what you want to be making? Or is that the totality of what you want to make? Or is that kind of what you want to make from this? No, it's what I want to make from this. Okay. And what's your total revenue goal that you want to be pulling in personally? It's 40K a month. Okay. And just so I can see like what's the gap between where you at and that? And they're like, okay, I'm at 30. Okay, cool. So you're making 10K a month. You want to make 20 from this. And we have a gap of 10 total. Is that right? Yes. Okay, cool. So before you started talking to me, you know, so I would do it really fast. The reason why I do it fast is because I don't want to give you a chance to think. You just need to spit me numbers because then they're the truth. It's very hard to lie that quickly. And I can stack other things on top of it and around it as well to kind of, I guess, make it a bit more bamboozling. But
yeah, and I think your pacing is
super quick.
Yeah, but also I think it conveys that it's kind of inconsequential to you.
Yeah,
like it's just one of many numbers I need here.
Yeah,
rather than being like, give me that big number.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like
and
it's
so
just one of the many I need.
It's just way less jarring. And then from there, like you slow down when you want them to think. You know, so like you give people space to think, and then you start teaching. And so when I sell, this is my normal cadence. Okay, so like before you started talking to me, were you out there looking for ways to kind of help grow your business, or like what have you been doing? Right, because I want to give you plenty of time to kind of internally figure that out, and then you can speed up and slow down. It's just all depends on where you're at, what you're trying to do. But I had to teach a lot of that really, really nuanced stuff because like they're inner circle, like they're good at what they do. Yeah, they just need like all the tweaks.
That's interesting. Like in my space, we call that like behavioral momentum, where we just sort of get it like, here's a little thing and a little thing and a little thing, and then before too long I can ask for the big thing, and you're still just churning along. Yeah. It's very like, you know, depending on what emotions you want to invoke and when, and how you want to be perceived by the person, is kind of like how you are at the beginning of a call and how you are at the end of the call is like a different human. You know, it's very much like pragmatic, sort of dead inside, somewhat uninterested. Not like uninterested in them, but uninterested in like, oh yeah, like we're just going through a very simple process. And then I tend to like, so it's very like, formality. Then there comes a time where I slow it down and then speed it right up. So I go like boom. It's sort of a cadence is like boom, 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 boom. Okay. Boom, boom. Right? So that's the cadence of the calls, and you kind of go up and go down and go up and go down. And that's an NEPQ thing, right? Well, yeah, but it's sort of like with a Matt Ryder flair. Yeah, it's like I am really good at certain types of sales. Like I'm really good at highly emotive selling. Okay. You know, so anything where I can talk to the individual and they can have like there's an outcome for them personally in terms of like solving the problem or getting the product or service or whatever, like that's where I'm especially good at. And so like reading the person and eliciting the emotions that I want to elicit and stuff like that, that's really my form of selling. You know, so like B2B, it doesn't translate that well to like an enterprise sale. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So it's not emotional. The last thing I wanted to ask you about, have you observed anyone online in this space, sales coaching and consulting? Cult-salting. Yeah. Cult-salting. That has given up a fortune for fame? Like that you've seen go like shit the bed, or just like, you know, have something go wrong monetarily that brings them attention, negative attention, but they're like, ooh, that attention, I like that. And they go hard in the paint and decide like, I want more followers and I want to be hated. I want interactions online rather than the money that could come of it. Well, it's hard to say because I wouldn't know. Okay. Do you know what I mean? Because the outward would always be, look at all this attention and money that I'm getting. You know, I got told a couple of years ago that if you buy a Lambo, you'll pay it off in a week. Yeah. You know, which I thought was kind of gross. You know, but I think I've seen people overdo it. So, because I don't have any of the information, right? So I couldn't know. I could make some assumptions, but I've seen people, I think, try to be everything to everyone and it not go well. Okay. And I know their business kind of like just sort of ticks along and does okay and provides a decent life for the people that do that. But it's like, I think a lot of people, especially in coaching, consulting, they're looking for the next way to generate the next sale. That's what they're doing. Like very few people from what I've seen have thought about like the long-term branding ramifications and what they want to be known for and
having a content direction like we have. You know what I mean? So it's like sit down. What are we doing? What promos are we going to do? Where's the business headed? What does the theming need to be? And what should we be talking about? And then from there, like that's planned out somewhat in advance, you know? And so, and we have an overall brand. This is kind of how we want to be known. This is what we want to do. And I just don't, that's not very common.
Okay.
You know, because it looks like a lot of it's sort of peppering stuff. And I've seen a couple of brands, which I won't name the people, that I can see have sold out to a way of doing things that only generates money.
Okay.
Right? So, like, because there are things that, like for example, like I've said it before, if I decided to start selling sales BizOp, fuck, $10 million a month.
Yeah.
Like, I could make 7th Level a $100 million a year revenue in company in probably 3 or 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, but there's long-term ramifications to doing that. And do I think it's ethical? No. Do I think it's sustainable? No. Do I think I can make a shitload of money in a short period of time, buy 25 houses and probably retire? Yes.
Yeah.
You know, but is that like the legacy that wants to be left? Is that what the brand of 7th Level is designed to do? No, it's not.
So what would that look like? That would be you market to people who are not salespeople, truck drivers,
really
whatever.
Unhappy.
Yeah. And say in 6 weeks I can turn you into a 30K closer.
Away.
Yeah.
I'll take the pain away. I'll teach you a skill. We're in your living room. You can earn 10K a month.
Yeah. And you would for sure teach them a skill, but they would not be able to monetize it in that way.
No. It's too hard.
Yeah.
You know, but the problem is there would be people who did it.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
And you would make sure of that because you put them in a like
yeah.
You
but then the 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 that actually does it, those become all your testimonials.
Yeah.
If you sign up enough people, you have enough testimonials, and it's like, well, your mindset's bad.
It always comes back to the mindset.
So like I see that, and like to me, like listen, I get it. Do the business thing. I totally understand. But that's to me like that's the start of the sinking ship.
Yeah.
As soon as people start like going after what I consider to be the most vulnerable population.
Yeah.
To me, that's like, okay, the clock's now on. I don't know how long that clock goes for, but I know it doesn't go for more than 3 or 4 years because like the FTC will ensure it doesn't go for that long.
Yeah. Because
like those businesses are incredibly easy to scale quickly. Now, when you scale fast, you get audited.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, people start poking through and poking into things and all that kind of stuff. Like we're going for the AFR, right? The Australian Financial Review fastest growing companies. Our accountant sat down and said, you will definitely get top 10, which means you will be audited.
Okay.
So they said, do we really want to do this? Because it will trigger a full audit. The top 10 get audited every year.
Right.
Right? And I was like, and I go, well, if we go audited, it'll be okay. He goes, it'll be totally fine. And he goes, usually I recommend against it, but in the case of you guys, because you'd probably get a ton of consulting clients out of it, it's probably worth doing.
Yeah.
You know, because we'll be the only sort of sales-related business there.
Yeah, right.
So when we go to those things, we'll get a bunch of 7-figure consulting deals.
Yeah.
Like we have with some of the other businesses that we've been consulting with recently, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Pros and cons. I mean, that's...
Bit of nuance.
But, I mean, that ties back to saying before that you never want to live your life in a way where you're worried about the phone ringing.
Yeah.
You're just like, if the audit comes, I know that that's going to be a headache, but I'm not going to get in trouble out of it.
No.
It's going to cost me a bunch of money to do the bullshit and time.
Yeah.
But everything's above board.
We try and run everything in a way where it's above board. We try and treat our employees well and pay them well and make sure that, like, you know, I think we talked about it before, but like COVID fucked over a lot of businesses, but it mainly fucked over shitty ones.
Yeah.
You know? So I apologize if you're one of the ones that got fucked over, but chances are.
Or very young ones as well.
Yeah, very young ones. But like a lot of the established businesses that went down is because like they were doing things in a way which was legal yet probably not right. Yeah. You know?
Just the way you employ people, your tax, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, like if you're taking in all cash and having contractors, mate, like, you know, you benefited for that for 10 years. Yeah. Like, you should have put the money away. Yeah. You know?
I used to have a client in Potts Point, and I used to park illegally every time I went there. And of the probably hundreds of times I went there, I got 3 parking fines.
Worth it.
And every time, I wasn't not mad at all. I was like, this is...
You won this round.
Yeah, this is the way it goes. And I thought that of so many businesses that were, like, jumping up and down complaining there's no government support for me. And it's like, well... You didn't pay a lot of the tax that you probably should have. Yeah. Like, and this was your opportunity to get it back.
Whereas, like, I pay, you know, I'm getting a 7-figure tax bill.
Yeah.
It's like, well, so it's like if something shits the bed and the government is the one shutting me down, then I would expect to get that 7 figures back.
Yeah.
which is, I think, fair.
Yeah.
You know, plus I'm paying payroll tax. Do you know what payroll tax is for?
No.
It pays like the construction industry's like supers.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
That's what it was designed for. So that's the main functionality of payroll tax, is to pay the superannuation for industries that don't pay superannuation but should.
Yeah, right.
So like it's, hey man, you're doing the right things, so we'll fuck you over, and you give us 6% of your payroll, and then we'll give it to other people who aren't doing the right things.
So I don't believe you. The government would never. The government would never take money off of people who are doing the right thing and give it to people who are not.
No.
That would never happen.
That's true. I actually go on here on record.
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you imply it?
I'll have a chat with Andrew Tate about it.
His marketing is genius. It's fucking insane.
So every now and then you see him break character and he'll say something, he goes, I don't have to believe
that. Like he can't even believe
I
the
don't believe
nonsense.
that. He's like,
but I mean, I feel bad for the little losers that are like,
that's the problem, right? And again, but that's the ticking time clock, because the moment you start marketing to the vulnerable, then the time clock is on. Now he'll make so much money, he'll never have to work again. He will make $100 million in the next 6 months.
Yeah,
and
then he'll disappear.
Like,
he'll gotcha.
You want to know when he disappears? The moment he flogs an NFT.
You reckon?
That is the end of him. Right? Like Jake Paul, all those dudes, man, like they're all flogging NFTs, and like now it's sort of getting illegal. Like I think one of the guys at Celsius got arrested for insider trading, right? Because he knew it was happening. I think it was Celsius, which is now bankrupt. Right? Yeah. Right. So like that to me is like the final crescendo of the scam artist.
That's the last hurrah.
Yeah, you do like a fucking moonshot NFT, and then you fucking rug pull it, and you're like, that's your final thing.
That's your goodbye present to yourself.
Just fuck over a bunch of 18-year-olds who have taken mom and dad's credit card, put it in their crypto wallet.
Yeah, and are angry because they asked a girl out and she said no, and so now they're inspired by hatred for the rest of their life. Yeah, man. Like you know, it's really easy to do, like, because you can see, like, I've seen the numbers on BizOps, you know what I mean? And some BizOps are legit. They're really good. We do the marketing for a BizOp, but it's a super high-end BizOp only for accredited investors. Like, it's 500K plus. These people have, like, significant liquidity, significant assets to due diligence. It's a fucking 6-month close. It takes goddamn forever, but they're great deals, and it is a BizOp. You know, but that's a very established, very high-end BizOp, right? Where like it's a very complicated sale because those people have lawyers and shit, you know. But we've also been a part of like lower-end BizOps, and it's like you see the, you know, and like some of them were good, some of them were not. Like the ones that were not, we got rid of as fast as we figured it out. But it's like it just makes marketing easy. Are you fucking unhappy? Yes. Sweet. Do you want me to take the pain away and tell you a skill or give you a thing that'll give you free money? Because like what a BizOp is, it's like coaching programs are designed to teach people something, right? Who want to be taught to then translate that into work and skill and money, right? So coaching programs are like, their cost per acquisition is a bit higher because like there's a higher level of intent there. BizOp is people who see themselves who have no skill and want to find a way to make money where it doesn't take more work or more skill. Into the business opportunity. Hey, do this stupidly easy thing and make money, right? There's a loophole. It's like, well, is there? Right? Right? So like you like that marketing is really easy. And so like I think it's a really big draw card for a lot of people who don't do branding or don't do it very well, don't have clear messaging and don't have a direction because they start to reach the outer limits. Their conversion and reach circles have merged. So the only thing you can do from there is just burn cold traffic. And you can't burn cold traffic into like an information product because like it's just going to be too expensive. You'll end up paying $5,000 to get a $6,000 sale, you know? So the only way you can do it is by going after more vulnerable, easier to sort of influence people. But then from there, like there's only so many of those around. Yeah. You know, so then you start burning, and then I've seen the edges of that burn, and it's like, dude, the numbers get insane. Yeah. I've seen dudes spend $15,000 a day on ads, to where like a booked call for just a 15-minute discovery is costing $2,000-$3,000. Wow, like crazy numbers, man. And like instead of backing it off and like trying to rebrand and go back out, they just turn it up harder.
and they just chase large sales. And I've seen it. It's fucking
chase it into the ground.
All right, bro. I've sat down with clients who are doing it, and I'm like, hey man, like this is what's happening. I'm on your team, but I see what's happening. We need to have a chat about this, and because I have the benefit of like, yes, I've run a few businesses, but I've seen a lot.
Yeah,
I've been involved in many, so now it's like I can see what's happening and provide them with advice. They almost will never take it.
Yeah,
like I could lay out the next 6 months of their life and go, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't fix it right now, and none of them will listen. But it is what it is.
Woo! All right. I reckon we wrap it there.
Sweet. If you guys do want that kind of advice, if you want me to tell you if your business is doing terrible or doing great, because of the benefit of my hide and sight, then you can go ahead and book a call. We have I think 2 spots open for consulting right now for people who want to scale up and ramp up their sales and marketing. Okay. It's called the Business Growth Blueprint. So we never advertise it. It's the first time anyone's ever heard that.
Okay.
But there'll be a link somewhere down below where you can go ahead and apply. We can usually take on like 2 or 3 a month because it's like an 8 to 12 week process that's very time intensive for all the hierarchy.
Okay. Cool.
Which means it ain't cheap, boys.
Get on it.
Get on it. If you do like this content, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're audio only, well done. Go and check it out on the YouTube channel if you want to see my beautiful face and Pat's face.
Pat's also face.
Yes. All right, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.